So today we're gonna talk about what is mind wandering. First of all, is the background of mind wandering. It has over 2,000 adults during their day-to-day activities found that 47% of their time, their minds were not focused on what they were currently doing. And even with more striking, when people's minds were wandering, they report being less happy. So, mind wandering can be an important factor that influences learning quality and education outcomes. And mind wandering is a common mental state involving spontaneous thoughts in our waking life, such as daydreaming. Some studies show that mind wandering occupies almost 50% of waking time, and people are not always 100% on what they were doing, such as learning and teaching. So, what is mind wandering? Mind wandering is a common everyday experience in which attention becomes disengaged from the immediate external environment and focused on internal train of thought. Mind wandering has proven to be a remarkably ubiquitous phenomenon with experience sampling study suggesting that our minds are disengaged from the ongoing on around us between 25% of our waking hours. So, like we said, humans on average spend up to half of their waking hours mind wandering, and it is a common everyday experience, and attention will become disengaged from the immediate external environment. So next is the tendency to mind wandering. So humans on average spend up to half of their waking hours mind wandering, and older adults on average tend to mind wander less than younger adults. Individuals who are often sad or worried mind wander more frequently compared with individuals who are happy and have nothing to worry about. So people also mind wander more when they perform tasks that they were used to doing and compare with when they perform novel and challenging tasks. So people may sometimes mind wander on purpose when they will feel bored about what they were doing. So like what we said, what caused mind wandering? The external distraction, the bored situation, will cause mind wandering. And another interesting fact is that the high stress mental condition will cause the mind wandering. Also, the higher the stress that people have, they will have higher frequency of mind wandering. So how often that people will mind wandering and how it happens? Like we can say mind wandering is a day-to-day activities in people's lives. So every second in your life that mind wandering can happen. For example, when you sit down to relax, you're working, or even when you're driving. Or you can do anything else that mind wander can happen. So next, I'm gonna talk about the negative effects of mind wandering. Like we said a lot, the average person spends up to 1/3 of their life engaging in thoughts that are not related to their task at hand. And mind wander will draw people's attention from their work and make them to have a low working performance. Also, mind wandering is a non-stop activity that weakens your ability to focus your mind and as well as interferes with your ability to deal effectively with what you're doing at each moment of the day. A wandering mind can prevent you from falling asleep, finish your tasks and work, and completing what you're doing. And mind wandering will also waste your time and energy and can be tiring sometimes. So besides negative effects of mind wandering that people are pretty familiar with, there are also positive effects of that. Like we said, mind wandering is actually a healthy mental state if you can leverage it properly, and it can provide creativity improvement, and it can be served as a foundation of creative inspiration. And mind wandering can also increase your general ability to solve problems and puzzles. And more interesting is that mind wandering is actually a central element of focused attention meditation. So how can we deal with mind wandering? Here are 4 suggestions that we have when mind wandering happens. First, try to focus on one thing at a time and do everything with full attention, and always become aware of your thoughts. And when mind wandering happens, always bring your mind back to what you're doing. Another factor is that the relationship between mind wandering and happiness, since there are people said that people also wander when they feel unhappy. So when our mind wanders, we often think about unpleasant things, our worries, our anxiety, and our regrets. These negative thoughts turn out to have an organic relationship to unhappiness or happiness, yet even when people are thinking about sometimes they describe as neutral. They are still considered less happy than when they are not wandering. In fact, even when they are thinking about something they describe as pleasant, they are still slightly less happy than when they are not mind wandering at all. So, conclusion. In addition to help people learn to be more skillful in mind wandering at the right times, people might also be encouraged to engage in topics of mind wandering that are maximally stimulating. When people catch their minds escaping the present, they may not necessarily need to return the mind to the present. But if they are engaging in a non-productive or uninteresting topic, they might want to think about something else that they can find more engaging themselves in. So last is that find the right balance between mind wandering and mindfulness.